right then, lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Good morning once again for, I think it's good afternoon even. I think for the first time in around 10 days, good afternoon. Good morning as well, and good evening wherever you are in all parts of the world. We're gonna be discussing much about Arsenal transfers. It is January, so it is transfers. I've seen a lot of concern in the comment section. Where have you been? What happened? Things like that. Really, I should be answering those questions, but are we really gonna have the time to dive into that? I'm not really sure about that. We're gonna dive into the transfers. We're gonna dive into what's happening around the club, because there's a lot to talk about. What happened, before? I couldn't access the channel. I couldn't log in. It was kind of a hack. It was like I was hacked, so I couldn't access the channel. Had to fight to bring it back, and I'm gonna say thank you to all people who actually took the initiative to ask what was happening, and I'm really grateful. But I think we are back, and we should be doing this now on a daily basis, like we've been doing right from the last 2 years. We're gonna be doing this on a regular daily basis, right? So I think in this one, the big question I think you guys are going to ask me is, because where are we from where we left off to? I think the last show we did was a transfer roundup of what was happening. Vlahovic, Isaac, AUTHUR, Melo, Danilo. Actually, the last time we talked was when Arsenal had made a 20 million bid for Brazilian midfielder Danilo, but that is so long ago that in the past 48 hours, because that is where it's been most interesting. Arsenal have been trying to get AUTHUR Melo on loan from Juve, and talks are ongoing between the two clubs. Yesterday and today, and of course more talks are expected to be progressing. And then Vlahovic yesterday, as they were. As Fiorentina were beating, were winning 6-0, he had that kind of celebration where, of course, he had missed the penalty, and we shall talk about that. He missed the penalty, but then he had that kind of celebration that was like, a goodbye, right? Like waving goodbye, and that is also there. I mean, there is a lot. I mean, Yuri Tielemans. Sorry, not Ricardo. I don't know why I keep on calling him Ricardo. Maybe when it comes to Arsenal, I'll get his name right. But Yuri Tielemans again linked with Arsenal very closely. With Charles was saying that Arsenal have met the representatives of Yuri Tilemans, who has 1 year and 6 months left on his contract. That means, in the summer, he'll be left with 1 year on his contract. And of course, the comments that have been made by Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers actually speak very very much to the direction in which that transfer might actually happen, because he said, they want him to stay. He's their player, but again, it's a very short career, and at some point in time, players do have to move on, and things like that. So we're gonna be discussing much in this video, really, especially trying to fill in those gaps, trying to join the dots where I have been around, and the period that I've been away. But of course, let me know in the comment section. I know there are many questions you have around players joining Arsenal. I've seen Douglas, is it Diego Costa linked with Arsenal? I'm not really going to do that story, really. Absolutely not. So I've seen that. I've seen Diego Costa as well. Linked with Arsenal, but Diego Costa, I think we are desperate. As Arsenal Football Club, Pablo Mari has also left the club as well. So I mean, a lot to discuss, really. But let us start off with AUTHUR Melo. Because I think the midfield crisis, the midfield demand is there, and I think Arsenal know it. Mikel Arteta has always been speaking about it in his press conferences. Telling trying to show that Arsenal desperately need additions. First and foremost, in the middle of the park, but also up front. So we've been looking at a couple of midfielders, and I think AUTHUR Melo in the last 1 week has been the player that Arsenal have felt closer and closer to. He's been the player that Arsenal felt like, we can't get this one, we can't get this done. I've already said right from the beginning of the window that this is an easy deal for Arsenal to do. I don't know why eventually Juve have actually, turned on their transfer strategy, because at first it was Juve trying to let go of many players, especially those that were earning, they were earning lots of wages. We talked about the likes of Ramsey. We talked about the likes of Adrian Rabiot. We talked about the likes of Arthur Melo, Bentaku, and a couple of them. And that was from Nicolo Schira as well as Gianluca Di Marzio, who are claiming that Juve wanted to get in a serious midfielder and then a serious striker as well. So that is that was the claim from Di Marzio, and many reports in Italy reported the same thing. They consistently reported that Juve really wanted to get rid of as many players as possible. We've had the rumors of Alvaro Morata, but then it seems that Juve honestly have backtracked. Before we get into the Arthur Melo deal and what's happening, they have really backtracked. If you look at Barcelona, they're much interested in getting in Alvaro Morata, but then Juve kind of should I say stopped that deal. They stepped in the way of that deal. They refused Alvaro Morata to go to Barcelona. They do need a striker. I think that much we know. They need a striker. They've talked. They talked to Aubameyang. They've talked to PSG about Mauro Icardi, but I don't know what their transfer strategy really is, and it's one that is really very, very unclear. Very unclear. Are they going to do business in January? That much I do not understand, because I know that their financial situation is in distress. It is in absolute distress. So are we going to see them really busy? I'm not really sure about that. But according to Fabrizio Romano, Arsenal have had 3 players in terms of a midfielder, 3 of them. And Romano still insists that Arsenal will sign in a midfielder. It's the same story with it's the same story reported by Eduardo Hagen, another very, very big, big journalist that is really, really growing well in terms of the Arsenal arena, especially. So he's come out and said that Arsenal definitely will be signing in a midfielder. Last week it was more of Arthur Melo. We all thought Arthur Melo was going to be joining it, before the North London derby against Spurs, which was postponed because of lack of numbers and squad squad problems at Arsenal Football Club. But I think the bigger problem with the Arthur Melo deal is Juventus. Sky, let's start off with this. Sky have reported that Juve will not let go of Arthur Melo unless they get a replacement. Now, this is a deal that is really complicated, very, very complicated. On paper, it doesn't look very complicated, because it's as easy as Arsenal getting in, Arsenal getting Arthur Melo, right? Arsenal getting Arthur Melo on loan with an option to buy in the summer. Now, at first it was reported that Juve would love to let the player go on loan with an obligation to buy, right? That was the first condition. I think Arsenal failed to meet that. And the second prerequisite was they have to first get in a midfielder. They need to first get in a replacement of the player that is, Arthur Melo. Now they've been looking at a couple of players as Juve. I've seen them linked with Bruno Guimaraes, who, according to Nicolo Schira, they are interested in Bruno Guimaraes. He is not interested in going there. And what I don't get with Juve is that they do have this kind of, they have so many midfielders around there. Rabiot, last summer they signed in Manuel Locatelli, who I think has not really done very, very well, in terms of meeting the expectations, they wanted him to meet and the standards they thought he was actually going to meet yet. But I think, he's a huge talent. He will meet those standards probably in the future. But to think about it and to speak about it in a very honest, in a very honest opinion, I think Juve are really playing hard to get, because the last one that really made me crazy is that they asked for Thomas Partey. Now this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Partey has just signed for Arsenal last summer, but one. And Juve know that this is a player that Arsenal 100% value and take to be the heart of the project, the heart of the process, the heart of whatever we are building. Thomas Partey is in the middle of that, and you can't take away Thomas Partey at the moment. We can't give away Thomas Partey. Now, Sky saying that they have asked for Thomas Partey. For me, I just feel like, are they even serious? Are they even serious about this there? But we've seen Mikel Arteta and Edu are much interested in Arthur Melo, and the Melo deal. The player is interested in joining Arsenal, and he's more than willing to push for a move. But I think what you're gonna do is they're gonna use that. They're gonna kind of cling on to that excuse. We are not letting him go unless we get a replacement. And in the end, personally, I don't think Arthur Melo has enough. I mean, we've already discussed player power on 99 Sport this year. I don't think Arthur Melo is going to have that kind of power to push Juve over the cliff, to get them to do what he wants. But I think it would be a very, very good deal for Arsenal. I've spoken about it before. I think Melo is the perfect example of what Arsenal want, of what Arsenal need. The kind of player that just does everything different from Thomas Partey. And if you could have Thomas Partey in the midfield, if you could have Partey, controlling the midfield, then you have Arthur Melo just joining the press, adding more pressures, pressing more, working with the forward line to improve the press. It would be absolutely magnificent. But it's a very, very difficult deal to do now because Juve, we don't understand where they are, right? We don't understand where they are. They've been desperate to let players go, and now it's like they're just creating a chaos. They're just creating, they just become a nuisance. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But again, it's a deal. If you ask me, really, it's a deal that I see Arsenal can't get. Can't get. It could be in terms of structuring it. We can get it, there. It could be in terms of if it is not in terms of structuring it, then it could be if Juve can get a replacement, right? I think it's one that will happen because what we've done as Arsenal is we've let go of Ainsley, Maitland-Niles. Even when Thomas Partey comes back, you will need another midfielder. I think honestly, there is more and more frustration within this Arsenal side with Granit Xhaka. And I don't want to really talk about that, Liverpool game because, look, lads, I know if we were going to react to that game, we would be furious because I was really furious. I was absolutely furious. I was disappointed. Xhaka is the last man there, and he has, because what I don't get there is he absolutely has no chance of getting that ball from Diogo Jota. And look what he does. You're the last man. It's a high boot. I was absolutely disgusted. So I think Mikel Arteta now knows that he needs to get in the midfielder, whether Xhaka is there or not. Xhaka shouldn't be playing in this Arsenal side. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Yeah, he's had some, good moments. He's had some very, very good, spells as an Arsenal player. But honestly, overall, Arsenal need to get in a better midfielder. And I think with Xhaka and Partey, you're getting too much defensive than we should be getting. So getting someone who can play alongside Thomas Partey in a bit, in a bit of a more progressive, role. Arthur Melo is that. So that, you guys, I think we should keep our eyes very open. I think it can get done. It's just a matter of Juve sorting up themselves. That's it. As long as they can do it as early as possible. Danilo, Arsenal did submit in a bid for the lad. I mean, it went very, very quiet. The rest of the transfers that we can do, Bruno Guimaraes in January, Romano has said it is as hard as a stone. It is very, very hard to do in January, but certainly want to watch out for, in the summer. So Bruno Guimaraes, Danilo, and Arthur Melo, I think those three Arsenal, will continue monitoring them until we get in a new midfielder, right? Which we actually need desperately. Make sure you smash the like button, people. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Really, it's been a long time. Now, moving away from that, still talking about let's head over to Dusan Vlahovic, because again, a lot. There's been a lot, and this is from Sky Sport. Damage Chef. This is what he said. Vlahovic is a name that we just won't go away. We know that Arsenal have an interest in Vlahovic. I spoke to my colleagues in Sky in Italy, and the feeling is that the feeling they are getting is that Fiorentina would be open to a deal this January transfer window. However, he says that but it is the player and his representatives that perhaps want to take a step back and reassess all the options come the summer. Another factor that he will take account into it is the coach. That is very, very important to him. He wants to know who will be coaching him, as well as the club he will be joining. That will be a factor in him joining as well, right? That is Damage Chef coming out reporting. Of course, we know how credible Damage Chef is. Sky Sports reporter, very, very credible. One of those journalists that I really, really respect. In this day and age, right? So Vlahovic, again, someone we've talked about lots and lots of the time. It's been around 10 days. I've not spoken about Vlahovic, but I've been seeing the rumors and I've been following each update on a daily basis, right? So with Dusan Vlahovic, what has changed? I think the only thing that has changed, and I'll report this from Eduardo Hagen's point of view. Eduardo Hagen reported and said Vlahovic is interested in Arsenal, right? Vlahovic is interested in Arsenal. Arsenal and Fiorentina do have an agreement to get the player this January. However, the agent of the player is still a big problem. Now, that's a little bit, very, very different. That's a little bit different from what Damage Chef has actually put out. Because if you look at the factors that Chef has actually talked about, if I'm Arsenal, honestly, I'm going to say this. If I'm Arsenal Football Club, I walk away. I think we should walk away from this deal and never talk about Dusan Vlahovic again. Yes, he's a very, very good player. He's a top talent, but we've got to do other things. We can't waste all that time. I mean, it reminds me of that time when we tried to sign Gonzalo Higuain and Karim Benzema for a whole summer. A whole transfer window, we tried to sign Gonzalo Higuain, and he ended up at Napoli. And then the next transfer window, we tried to sign Karim Benzema, and he ended up staying at Real Madrid. I think it is time for Arsenal to really, really move on. Because, look, Eduardo Hagen, this is what he reported, and 100% I trust him. He came out and said that the player wants 8 million euros, 8 million euros, and his agent wants 10 million euros. That is 20 million euros. That is very, very close to 20 million euros. Of course, it's 18 million euros, I know. But that is 20 million euros plus the 70 million euros Arsenal are willing to pay to Fiorentina. That's around 100 million. Yeah, that is around 100 million euros. So, when I look at that, what I understand now is the agent of Dusan Vlahovic wants his player to be a free agent. There is no assessing of options. There is nothing like that. He wants him to either be a free agent or he wants him to be a player. He wants to get more out of the player than Fiorentina do. And I think right now it is a fight between Fiorentina and the player, and it is Arsenal suffering. because Fiorentina have actually come out, and given them an ultimatum to either tell them whether they're going to re-sign with the club or leave the club. And look, that is unprofessional, very, very unprofessional from Fiorentina, because it shows that they're desperate. They're desperate to sell the player. They're desperate to let him go. It is absolutely not called for. If a player is still under contract, you can't tell him sign or leave. I mean, you can't tell him that. I mean, it's desperate, right? We all know it's desperate. But for me, why I think Arsenal should be moving away from this deal, lads, and I would love to get to know what you people think about this. Listen, we've done whatever we can. We have offered the biggest salary to Vlahovic, almost 10 times the salary he's getting at the moment. We have, offered the biggest, price to Fiorentina. We've done enough. We have honestly done enough. He's a good player. I love him, and I think if he joins Arsenal, brilliant signing. But what haven't we done? What have us? What do we have to do? What is there left to do? These little excuses, they're buying time. I mean, it is Arsenal and Arsenal fans, pushing and trying to create this atmosphere that we are really getting the player under. But honestly, if you look at the reality, it is not a closed deal. It is not a very, very close deal. And it's one, if it is Fiorentina blocking that deal, I understand, because he's an important player to them. But if it is the player blocking the deal, that means if any club that comes in and is better than us, then we lose the player. And just imagine how much time we've put in trying to get him, because this is for me, the last point is very, very important. The last point is very important, that the player will take into account the coach, and that is a very, very important decider to him. He wants to know who will be coaching him, as well as the club he will be joining, right? So the coach, I'm going to take a guess here that by the coach, he wants to know the coach. I think they mean that an experienced manager, a manager that has won, a manager with a pedigree. We don't have that. We definitely don't have that. And I think Di Marzio has reported about this before, and he said he would be more interested in joining Spurs because there is Antonio Conte, right? And at some point in time, I want to believe and trust Mikel Arteta that a player who doesn't really have that 100%, it might not be 100% commitment, but a player who's not convinced about your project, a player who's not convinced about the coach, the manager at the club, then there is no reason as to why you bring him in, right? Because look, I doubt he's going to believe in Mikel Arteta. I doubt, and I think this is more of a Romelu Lukaku kind of situation where you have this, we have a player who's been given lots of power. You have a player who's been given a lot of power to say whatever he wants, to decide on whatever he wants. And when you bring him in at Arsenal, he's going to become a problem. One, he's a 21-year-old who's going to be earning lots and lots of money, right? That could be a problem itself. That could be a big problem itself, because players like Saka, who are, trust me, doing much better in a more competitive league, are not earning what Vlahovic will be earning at Arsenal. They'll be demanding for more money. Agents of Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, they'll be earning more, they'll be asking for more money, because these are players that are holding the structure of the project together, and they're really doing well in a league that is so competitive, very, very competitive. So listen, lads, for me, I'm getting more frustrated. I'm absolutely getting more and more frustrated, with this deal. And then listen to this. This is again from Di Marzio, and this is how inconsistent it is. Di Marzio, it is it's coming in the last 2 hours. Dimasio, Fiorentina are not willing to sell Dusan in January. Also, they haven't received concrete offers for the player. His agent asking for almost 10 million euros for the transfer to happen. So you can see that there's a lot of jumbling, right? There's a lot of jumbling on this deal, and I just feel like Arsenal need to walk away. I just feel like Arsenal need to walk away. We've already seen these problems with with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I think we need to walk away. We need to find a different kind of a deal. Get a striker on loan and deal with this in the summer, right? Go for Jonathan David in the summer. Go for Calvert-Lewin. Go for Al Watkins in the summer. There's so many deals. We could go for Alexander Isak as well. 77 million euros release clause. We could do that deal, and there are no problems. This is absolutely frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. But anyway, lads, let me know. I would love, on this show, the first one that we've done in a long time, I need to get to know, because I know you've been following from other YouTubers and Twitter and things like that. I need to know where you stand on these deals. How much frustration or how much patience have you developed, in the past 1 week or past 10 days? How much patience have you developed, or how much frustration has actually built up inside you? But then the interesting one, lads, is Youri Tielemans. Now, if Arsenal can pull this off, if Arsenal can pull off that deal, Youri Tielemans, that would be the biggest story for me. That would be the biggest story for me. Youri Tielemans. Absolute bowler. Now, let's start off with what is said and what we know. Very credible journalist from Goal.com, Charles Watts, did come out and confirm that he said Arsenal have met the representatives of Youri Tielemans ahead of a potential move. That is that is what he said. Tielemans is one player that I've never talked about, because I felt like he was never going to join Arsenal. He was never going to join Arsenal. I felt like he was out of our league. I thought he was out of our lane. But when I saw that, and I was really uncomfortable, because I couldn't stream. I couldn't upload, but I wanted to talk about Youri Tielemans. I'm going to do a video about Youri Tielemans as a player. Tielemans, for me, lads, if you ask me, Melo, Tielemans, or Bruno Guimaraes, my answer is Youri Tielemans. Played in the Premier League, really consistent player, has that kind of creativity that you need, is a very good bowler. And I think he's coming from a manager that is Brendan Rodgers. He's coming from a manager that, really plays the style Arsenal want to play. He wants, he plays, because again, if you look at what Brendan Rodgers plays, that kind of free press, that kind of pressing football, that kind of football that just allows your midfielders to be as creative as possible and do whatever kind of stuff they want. So for me, with Youri Tielemans, Arsenal would have got themselves a perfect midfielder. Liverpool were much interested in him last summer. I think Liverpool and United. I think both of them, but I think it was more of Liverpool that were interested. I can't really quite remember the second club, but I know Liverpool were much interested. And the statements of Leicester were, it is either Maddison or Tielemans. Both of them were never going to leave in the summer, and their priority was to keep Youri Tielemans, who was actually doing very well, and who's still doing very well, and let go of James Maddison, who was wanted by Arsenal then. And somehow, because of the very big price tag, Tielemans was kept at Leicester, and then Maddison was also kept at Leicester as well. It's gonna be very different this summer, because last summer, however much the recruitment was good for Leicester, they didn't sell a player. So this summer, I will expect them to sell a player. And also, if you look at what they've done, they have Ndidi now, the Madison, and they also have Boubacar Somare. Are they probably thinking about life after Yuri Tielemans? Because if you can have Boubacar Somare play alongside Ndidi, and then James Madison is your number 10. I think they're good to go. They'll be definitely good to go. So Tielemans, how much would that deal cost us? He'll be left with 1 year in the summer, 1 year left on his contract. That is what will happen. And I'm pretty much convinced Leicester City are not going to let him go without a fight. They will try to sign him up on a longer term deal. If they fail to do that, then I think they'll ask for a bigger fee. They'll ask for a big price. But I think this is a deal that Arsenal, I don't know if we're going to try to do it in the summer, because we should, right? We should definitely do it. We should definitely do it. Because look, in the summer, 1 year left on his contract. That means he can sign a pre-contract with another club in January 2023. Leicester City do not want to go there. It is scary. It's absolutely scary. Leicester won't want to go there. So they'll listen to offers in the summer. I think around 35 to 55 million euros. That is pounds. That is where Arsenal will have to deal. That is how we'll have to deal with it. 35 to 55 million euros. That is the money we have to pay. But if you look at Yuri Tielemans, lads, honestly, Tielemans, Kimmich, Goretzka, Cruz, Modric, Johnny van der Beek, and they're just like it's just a kind of those kind of midfielders that they're complete. They're absolutely complete. I can't find one flaw. I definitely can't find one flaw in Yuri Tielemans. He's so good. And if you ask me, really, am I much interested in Tielemans? 100%. I would take him over Bruno Guimaraes. And if you've been watching this channel for some time, you know how much I rate Bruno Guimaraes. But I would take him over Bruno Guimaraes, because Tielemans, he's out of this world. He's definitely out of this world. And Brendan Rodgers, I think, is absolutely right, because he came out and said Leicester would love to keep Tilemans for quite some time, but it might not do. It might actually not come out like that. So they will let him go. We know that they will let him go. Right? It's a short career. It's time for him to take that kind of jump from Leicester City. I think that's the question. Is Leicester City to Arsenal that kind of jump that he needs at the moment? Is it too short? Is it too shallow? Because I don't feel it is too low. It's too deep. It's too high. But is it the perfect jump? Right? Because with players like Tilemans, Vlahovic again, I don't expect them to come at Arsenal and then settle there, right? I feel like Tielemans comes to Arsenal for 3 years and then moves on to Madrid or to Bayern or to Barcelona. Vlahovic moves to Arsenal for 4 years because he's now 21. At 25 or 26, then he moves on to a bigger club. I mean, it can happen. It always happens. But anyway, I love to talk to you in the chat as well and see what you people are thinking about. Swalip says, hi Cossy, you lost hope. How are you? I lost hope. Are you fine? We have been missing the show. Thank you. I mean, I'm definitely fine. I'm really fine. Domroy says, about time Arsenal stopped messing around about Vlahovic and get down to signing a striker on an urgent basis. It doesn't seem like Vlahovic wants to come at Arsenal. The clock is ticking. That is my point, lads. That is my point. The clock is ticking, and time is not in our favor. Yeah, time is not in our favor. Eric says happy to have you back. Thank you so much, Eric. Elijah says commitment matters. Danger Snow says Vlahovic to Arsenal. Bob says this Vlahovic daily news is boring. Go for Jonathan David and buy and buy. Vlahovic is not interested to coming in. Elijah says why can't they go for Isaac? I just feel like Arsenal are stuck. I just feel like we are stuck, and it's not the first time we've been stuck on a player and then we failed to get him. I'm going to give you 5 players that that I remember. Arsenal got stuck to them and we never got them, and they ruined a transfer window. Gonzalo Higuain, when he moved to Napoli, we were much interested. I think Wenger was really mad about the lad, but then he didn't get him. Away from that, Karim Benzema. And I think with Karim Benzema, it was not one window. It was a series of windows where we are, where we were, we were thought to be getting him, And of course, you remember many other players. But Benzema, it was a series of windows where Arsenal were pushing all the time to get him. And it never happened, right? And then, all that time, because if you still remember that time, I think it was 2015 to 2016, when Leicester City won the league 6 years ago. If we had a striker, if we only had a striker, a decent striker who'd give us 30 goals in a season, we would have won the league. But we didn't have the striker because we kept on going back for Benzema. We kept on going, trying to sign Benzema. Then the other player that we wanted for a whole window, and we eventually didn't get him, and then we got him, in the following window, was Alexander Lacazette. We also tried to sign Lacazette. We got stuck to Lacazette, and in that window, he didn't join us. Hausemowa is another one, classic example, very recent as well, very recent. Arsenal stuck to our whole transfer window. The likes of Said Benrahma, joining West Ham. Of course, you remember we were in that race to sign Benrahma, and then we decided to go for Hausemowa, and we didn't get him. So I think it's the same situation. We need to get over this. I don't think it's one player. There are around 5 players on that list. Right, and if the first priority is not, responding, go for the second priority. Whether it's Jonathan David, whether it is Alexander Isak, I think Isak can be done in January because it's a release clause. I think his release clause can be activated in the summer. But you could talk to Real Sociedad. You never know. If that fails, go for Patrick Schick. I mean, I've never wanted Arsenal to go for Patrick Schick, but go for Patrick Schick. We definitely need a striker as soon as possible. We are left with we played 20 games. We are left with 18 games to go. Those 18 games are very crucial at the moment when we have. I think we have 2 games in hand against West Ham. That is a very good point. But then remember, Spurs are also having 2 games in hand against us. So we need to win as many games as we can. We need to win those difficult games that are coming. Playing Liverpool again, we have to play Chelsea again. We have to play, Spurs again. In the second round, we just need to get over Vlahovic. Like, just take it. Let's get over. It's a crash. Let's get over it. Let's find something new. Let's find something different. I can't get my hand around why we can't. Richard says. Says he ain't coming, mad. I suggest Arsenal should leave that guy and look for other options. That's according to JK. Hussein says Arsenal should not even consider signing Costa. He will add nothing to the club. I think with Diego Costa, these are, I think, at times I call them desperate rumors, right? And publications always put this out. Look, I've seen even FTV report about Diego Costa. But have you looked at that lad's weight? Like, have you looked at Coutinho is small. Costa should be Diego Costa should be playing Sunday League now. Like, should be coaching Sunday League. There is no we shouldn't be that desperate, really, right? To bring in Diego Costa, I would rather give Eddie Nketiah some time. I know he's not going to blossom, but I would give that space to Eddie Nketiah. Definitely not to Diego Costa. I'm telling you, for facts, lads, not to Diego Costa. No. Cossy Alexander Isak is a good player. Why not go for him? I think the numbers of Dusan Vlahovic, I've spoken about this, that I think the numbers Dusan has are much, are really, attractive. So I think that's why Arsenal are stuck in there. They just feel like it's a deal that we can do. We can do it, right? And make no mistake, Dusan is a very, very attractive player. Very attractive. Very, very, very attractive, isn't he? He's a very attractive player. If Arsenal just woke up and signed Dusan Vlahovic, it would be a very, very different kind of story. Yeah, it would be a very kind of story. I think it would be a huge signing, right? A huge signing. It can be, because we are talking about a player, and this is David Onstein, right? And I'm going to read it 1 hour ago. Okay. This is David Onstein from The Athletic. And it says, earlier this morning, Arsenal made a massive move to sign Vlahovic 1 hour ago. Earlier this morning, Arsenal made a massive move to sign Vlahovic, 21, from Fiorentina. AFC making all necessary arrangements. Deal worth 62.5 million plus Torreira, with agent fees of a reduced 2 million. Medical in coming days. All right. So this is David Onstein. Now this is something very different. Very, very different. So, lads, you could be having Vlahovic coming in Arsenal, right? We could be having Vlahovic coming in Arsenal. So look, we're gonna continue speaking. We're gonna continue speaking about this, really, right? We're gonna continue speaking about this because with transfers, this is your number one channel. Make sure you always tuned in, right? So I'm going to take a break, lads. I've been a little bit sick. I'm going to take a break, and then Cossy, I thought you had blocked me. No, Raka. No. I don't block my people. I don't block my people. The truth is, channel had been compromised a little bit. We are back, and we're gonna be streaming on a daily basis, right? So I'm going to be coming back with that stream on the massive arrangements and move we have made on Dusan Vlahovic. Let me try to verify that, and then we speak. We'll speak very, very soon. Melbet, this is what they're saying.